You're not going to like what I'm about to say, but if you're a Christian content creator, you need to hear this before you post your next video. This can save you from burnout, compromise, and regret. But before we dive in, I'm Jonathan, and this channel exists to help Christians think deeply, live boldly, and create content that glorifies God. Before I started this channel, I served in vocational pastoral ministry for 8 years. And at the first church I served on staff, it kind of served as the school of hard knocks for ministry. I had to learn how to lead in the midst of criticism. Some called me too conservative, others called me too liberal. There were things that I also learned that was helpful when it came to discerning my own heart and my intentions. However, even though that was a positive thing, it had negative implications in the way I tried to judge my own motives. Before I started this channel, I had to battle what those congregants or even my old pastor would say, even things like, "You're just trying to be famous. You're trying to build a platform for yourself." And for a moment, this channel almost didn't come into existence. But through the encouragement of my wife, many friends, colleagues, and ultimately from the Lord, I was reminded and encouraged that ultimately this isn't about me. It's all about Him. And that lesson changed everything. Today, I want to give you 8 truths you must understand before you hit record on your next video. Let's jump in. Number 1, expect pushback. Jesus said in John 15 that if the world hates you, keep in mind that it has hated me first. Pushback is not a possibility. It's a guarantee. When we look at famous Christians, specifically like Tim Tebow, all he did was kneel and thank God, and the media tore him apart, but he stayed the course. I remember posting a Facebook post a few years ago on the issue of Christian liberty, and someone sent me a message telling me that I'm leading people into sin. It hurt, but God reminded me that if I watered down truth to avoid pushback, I'm no longer a servant of Christ. So before you hit publish, ask yourself, am I ready for this? Write down why you're posting. That note will anchor you when the storms hit. Number 2, expect disagreement. In Acts chapter 15, it shows us that even Christians can disagree. Paul and Barnabas had a strong disagreement, and they no longer did ministry together. And you will face brothers and sisters who don't see things exactly the way you do, and that's okay. Look at Matt Chandler. Look at John MacArthur. Both love Jesus, both lead strong ministries, but both have very different tones and emphasis. And I've had people challenge me lovingly. And you know what? Some of those conversations made me better, made my content better, made my preaching better. So don't be defensive. And many times you don't have to reply to a disagreement immediately. Just pause, pray, and then respond. Or sometimes don't. Number 3, expect slander. Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed are you when people insult you because of me." One of the things that we can learn from Christian hip-hop artist Lecrae is that he has even shared how both Christians and non-Christians twisted his words, slandered his motives, and painted him into corners. But that didn't stop him. He kept creating. Oftentimes in this space, you need to expect people to label you as a false teacher simply because you have a different theological perspective on a secondary or tertiary issue. Expect people to assume your motives and make response videos toward your content and even misrepresent you. Number 4, don't try to please everyone. Paul told the Galatians, and he tells us plainly, "Am I trying to win the approval of man or of God?" This reminds me of Chick-fil-A. You know, we have many different fast food companies that are open every day, but Chick-fil-A has chosen to not open their stores on Sundays. They could have compromised, but they stuck to their convictions. And look how God has honored that. So before posting, filter everything through this question. Does this please God first? Because not everyone will applaud. Number 5, run your race. The book of Hebrews tells us in chapter 12 to let us run this race with endurance, to run this race that was set before us, not someone else's race. Olympic runners aren't looking side to side. They're laser focused. And oftentimes I've tried to compare my very small channel to others and I've gotten discouraged. And many times that's probably you as well. We look to other Christian content creators who are doing the same things as us, posting similar content as us, and they're getting millions of views and ours close to nothing. But then I have to remember God did not call me to run their race. He called me to run mine. And so maybe for you, you may have to take a digital fast for a week. Maybe you just need to stop what others are doing and just tune into what God is telling you. Number 6, understand your niche. I understand that niche is a popular word in this space, but 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10 reminds us that we have been given specific gifts, and we are to use those gifts to build up the body of Christ for their benefits. And I want to say very politely and gently, just stay in your lane. I need to stay in my lane. One of the things I love about the Bible Project is that they know their lane. Their lane is visual storytelling and theology, and they do an excellent job at it. I know that you may disagree with some of their theological viewpoints, but the reason why they are successful is because they know their lane and they know their audience. And I've struggled for months trying to do everything: Bible studies, reaction videos, vlog. So maybe for you, ask God in prayer, Lord, what do you keep bringing back to my heart, Lord? Because your niche is tied to your burden. Number 7, understand your audience. Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 that I have become all things to all people. He knew his audience. And if we can take a lesson from the Apostle Paul, is that if you look at how he communicated, the way he communicated to the Jewish people and the way that he communicated to his Gentile audience was different. The message, the content remained the same, but his approach changed everything. And if I can highlight one Christian YouTuber, it's Mike Winger, and he excels at reaching everyday believers looking for deep, clear teaching. I've learned that my audience wants clarity with theological depth, not fluff, not controversy for the sake of clicks. So maybe what we need to do is engage our audience, engage the people in our comment section, read the comments, reach out to your friends, and just ask, what do you need? Or maybe what's confusing? And lastly, number 8, aim to please God. Colossians chapter 3 tells us that whatever you do, work wholeheartedly as for the Lord. Ultimately, we do this for an audience of one. I'm reminded of the great artist Bach. And one thing I learned is that with every composition he created, he signed it with SDG at the end of it. Soli Deo Gloria, for the glory of God alone. So before every recording, I stop and I pray, Father, make me faithful, not famous. And that changes everything. Consider before you start filming to pray that same prayer and just watch how it shifts your heart. Remember, we are not here to build a brand. We are here to build and expand God's kingdom. Pushback, disagreement, slander, they're going to come. But at the end, faithfulness is the wind. So here's my challenge to you. Before your next video, spend 10 minutes in prayer. Write down your convictions and post them near your desk, and let those things be your guide. So if this resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know what's the biggest challenge for you as a Christian content creator. I'd love to encourage you, pray for you, and maybe even cover it in a future video. And if this video helped you, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share it with another Christian creator who needs this reminder today. Until next time, stay faithful, run your race, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.